speaker is Bethany Stolle, as some may recognize that last name. She is from the Minneapolis area, so I think she currently is our furthest speaker away. So I'd like to thank her for coming to the Midwest UX and also doing this. She's going to be talking about interaction in autism, which, if any of you guys are smart enough, like, you're close to that, so this should be very interesting. It's very interesting to me. Sorry, I put the two together. I love this. She considers herself an evangelist for design. She's in the nonprofit world. She's looking at how empathy and passion will help move missions forward. Everybody has something they're trying to do. This is maybe a little different way of figuring out how to make it happen. So, everybody, Bethany.
So I'm going to come right up there and say it. I think design has an empathy problem. Part of the reason I'm up here is back in January, I was in Toronto at the IXDA Interaction Conference, and I actually won the Student Design Challenge, so I was invited to give an update on the project that I presented there and the work I've done since then. So my plan was to talk about IXDA and the Student Design Challenge. I just attended the Austin Center for Design in Austin, Texas. So I was going to talk about that and my startup. And as I was working through it, I realized there's actually a bigger story to all of this. And it comes down to empathy in design. It's becoming a buzzword, but I think that's a problem because there's more to empathy than just a part of the process. So a year ago, I was at AC4D. John Colco founded the program to teach interaction design and social entrepreneurship, so designers can go in the world and start up companies that make a difference. And along the way, we talked about the design process. And I really viewed empathy as a tool. I probably wasn't taught it this way, but I thought of it as like, it's part of the designer's toolkit. You pick up your empathy tool, and then you use that to understand those users out in the world. And I guess part of the thing that struck me, though, is, I thought empathy was part of, getting the rich raw material, and then the real work starts when you start to get into the middle and the end of the process. You start prototyping and making artifacts and testing. So design was just this part of the process to do the real work of design. Well, because it's school and we have to practice what we're learning, we went out into the field. So a classmate and I started doing research around technology use in special education. And from there we narrowed our focus to looking at how technology is used in autism. And I was really struck by what I saw. We visited some schools and we interviewed some parents, and my empathy dial started to malfunction a little bit because I found that I was really impacted by the people that I met. It's hard to see, but this is a kid named Evan, and he is now 13. He is nonverbal, and he has Down syndrome and is diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And so he doesn't use words to communicate in ways that we understand. But as we talked to his mom, he came over and showed her his little point-and-shoot camera. And on it was a picture that he had taken. Well, it turns out that this is his language. This is how he communicates without words, what he does in his day, what he loves. He records videos. It shows his point of view in his own language. And my favorite story is one time he was at the store, and he flipped his camera into video mode and put it on the conveyor belt. It got to the checker, who was like, what's this doing here? Evan burst out laughing, and that was the moment that his mom realized that her son had a sense of humor. And it was that moment of, whoa, I didn't really sign up for this. This is more than just practice. So through the process, I discovered that empathy has helped me open up and understand autism in different ways. It's not just headlines and statistics. Now I think about people that I've met. I think about the conversations I've had, the children that I've worked with. And so quarter one ended, I sort of packaged up all of the research that I had done. I was going to work on my real project that would lead to some sort of business. And so I just set it aside for the moment, all of those models, all the insights. But the compartmentalization model didn't really work for me. As I was working on my Student Design Challenge, I decided to channel that autism research. And when I was working on some sketches and my entry, I looked at one of my classmates and we just said, why aren't we doing this? This is something worth working on. I was like, damn it, empathy, this isn't what I signed up for. But I went to Toronto, I presented with the Student Design Challenge, and in sharing those stories and then afterwards talking with people at the conference who really resonated or they knew someone with autism, my heart started to open up even more, and I found this incredible passion for working on autism projects. So when we got back to Austin, we started to prototype this visual voice system. So how can we use pictures and biofeedback to help kids communicate their worldview? We met with Jackson, who is a very visual thinker. He doesn't usually initiate conversation, but when we gave him the camera, he went out in the neighborhood and started taking lots of photos. And then afterwards, we printed out those photos, and he immediately grabbed for the markers and stickers and started decorating them. This is one of my favorites. It's actually hard to see, but there's a little guy peeking between slats and a fence. And this is how he sees the world. He has this other layer that we often don't understand, but this became a medium for him to communicate in his language what's meaningful for him. And afterwards, we took all these photos that he had done, we put them on the wall, but they were more than just artifacts. These pictures have become representations of real people. They have represented this change in us to be passionate about autism and helping raise the voice of people who might not otherwise be heard. So another task that we were doing was some biofeedback devices. We went to observe emotion and track moods. And I ended up spending 20 plus minutes looking at AC vents with this kid. He really liked the dirty ones. And all of a sudden, this kid was a really cool kid, but I felt completely helpless at the end of that session because he staggered over to the couch and he was having a seizure. And seizures are very common with autism, but to actually witness that and experience it broke down any barrier I still had. And so I know that my view is very different. Empathy will always be kind of a blurry vision. I am not the user, but through empathy, that is what's given me the passion and the drive. And I think we need to reclaim empathy not just as a tool, but it requires vulnerability and openness so that we can be incredible designers. We have the passion and we have the materials to be able to do something powerful in the world.